Cameron Malik. Cameron, I'm so happy that we're back again together with this session, with this conversation. I would rather call it an interview because I'm listening more than I'm talking, because I'm so excited to have you back in this podcast and also to learn more about your journey. So welcome back. Happy to have you here, Cameron.
Cheers. Really great to be back. It's really good. We haven't done this style for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Luckily, we have seen each other quite often. Back in Bangkok, we have been to Jakarta together, and I'm pretty sure there's more to come when I'm back in
Yeah.
Asia and we travel more countries, maybe also Europe. So this is something which is in the planning we were already talking about. But when we've been back in Jakarta, we had this small little conference, and you had an exciting speech about your life and your journey as an entrepreneur first, and second as a trader. And I'm really curious about learning more about this. I'm so excited also that people can learn about your journey and your career here. So um, just let's start. Let us start with some insights about your life.
Perfect. Why not? Okay. Well,
So
you mentioned the
begin.
journey. Let's talk a little bit about the journey, and I think yeah, it's interesting. So for me, back in when I was 20, I got into business. You said I was an entrepreneur. I wouldn't ever call myself
Uh-huh.
an entrepreneur actually, but I certainly was in business. And what I discussed with you is like I really got into business just to be free. And what I discovered over 10, 12 years was I just wasn't free at all. The business, they say, is the greediest lover. I had 40 staff, warehouses, and all the rest of it. But it kind of led me on a path
Yeah.
because you don't know what you want. You think you know what you want until you get it. And then you get it and you go, oh, actually, no, this is what I want. And that's the cool thing about the journey is kind of you refine really what you want because through that experience. So without
Yeah.
going
So what did
massively
you
in,
want?
Mm,
Yeah. So what did you want back then? Money, you got it with a business. But what did you really want? What was the expectation?
well, the word is freedom, right? So freedom for me at that
Right.
stage, the ability to, yes, have money, number one. Okay, well, I had money, but I had no freedom.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't take a week off. I couldn't travel. I couldn't see things. I had maybe limited time with my friends, limited time with my family. So,
Yeah.
you get money. I mean, that's a good first step, That's, if you've got money, okay, well,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. But, how do you balance out all of the other things in your life? And I found through conventional business that I was in, I just couldn't really do that. And as I explained to you before, through that business, I was having to use options, currency options, because I was buying in euros, selling in pounds. And that kind of got me into the trading world and ticked a lot of the boxes of, okay, well, if I could trade, then, I wouldn't necessarily have to have an office. I wouldn't have to have staff. I wouldn't have to have all of the other things that go along with business, which is why today I still stand and say trading is certainly one of the best businesses in the world. There's very few businesses that you can start with as little capital as trading. And, for both of us, we are location free. I saw you in Jakarta, then we met in Bangkok. You're now
Yeah.
in Buenos Aires, and I'm in Ho Chi Minh. So,
Yeah.
it's a wonderful life, but there's a journey to get there, of course. You can't do that in one step, and you're not going to come to the trading world and be a super trader on day one, which I think is the misconception. Everybody wants to make money now, right? Whereas really you've got to
Yeah.
look at it as a degree, as an apprenticeship over, many 4, maybe 5 years, to get
Mm.
to that stage.
Yeah. I mean, people get drawn into this very easily, but exactly with this, I can get rich quick, which is obviously not really the case for the most of the people. I mean, you can have a lucky shot once in a while, but you're not
Mm.
having the stable richness coming in, not so much. And that's something what I also feel like, yeah, people need to know about this, that it's a journey. you need to have some basis, some background from an entrepreneurial level, I think, so that you understand that you have to work for your success. You have to have some skills as well to be successful as a trader as well. And that's also why I'm curious how you really did this, well, the switch from one
Yeah.
job to the other one.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky from the perspective of I've never had a job in my life, and I don't say that to boast. I just say that I've the lucky part is that you always have to get a result. When you don't have a job, you don't have an income, so you
Mhm.
have to get a result. So I've
Yeah.
always been very focused on, okay, well, that worked, that didn't work. How do we dial it in? Because it's not about how much time I spend trading. It's about the
Mhm.
result, or in business or any endeavor. It's about getting those results. So I was lucky, I was fortunate with that, of being able to take that attribute and then move that into trading and just really get the hours in front of the screen. I think that's it. You start out, you trade, I traded silver, I traded Forex, I traded index markets, whatever, gold, and you find something that ultimately is going to work, but you've got to just dial that in. And
Mhm.
ultimately it's a lot, it'll be a lot, it goes really wide, but it just becomes to sort of quite a simple and straightforward strategy. I think a lot of
Yeah.
us, if we said, look, this is our strategy, people are like, yeah, that's just really simple, but that's it. You've
Mhm.
got to just do simple things consistently. And that's the difficult bit. That's the difficult bit where people really struggle of just doing those simple things every day. And when you make a mistake, you make a correction.
Mhm. Mhm. Fair enough, which is hard for the most people, First of all, realizing that you made a mistake, and second, just correct it within that minute you see that it's a mistake. Usually people hope for the better and go for the worse. How did you
Yeah.
learn this?
Well, it's not even learning. I think the key thing is just journaling. You've got to,
Mm.
okay, so like in business, you have a business plan. If you went
Yeah.
to bank and say, hey, I want to get some money, where's your business plan? So I had, this is
Yeah.
my trading business plan. And that's, I think, the other big mistake. I don't think people treat trading as a business, trading or
Mhm.
investing as a business. So set out, make a plan. How much capital do you need? What is possible out of that capital? Could you take $1,000 and make $100,000? Probably not. Could you
Mhm.
start a business with $1,000? Yes, but how much would you expect to make out of that business? You
Yeah.
know? So it's just drilling all of those things in and dialing it down to going, okay, that's the plan. And then really working on the plan of this is the objective this month. So I'm going to make, typically, I would always really be targeting 3 to 5%. That's what I was looking to make from the market,
Mhm.
which is not too aggressive in the market. I'm not trying to do 100% a month. You just can't. And just try and hit those goals. And if I didn't hit those goals, well, what went wrong? Was it the market environment as well? Because we go through seasons in the market. It's not always going to
Mhm.
be the same. Have to apply different strategies at different times because of
Yeah.
the what the market looks like. So that's it. It's constantly refining. And today I'm still doing the same thing, taking your plan
Mhm.
and going, okay, how do I make this better? And how do I apply that also from my lifestyle? Do I want to be in front of the screens all of the time or
Mhm.
not? Or do I want to, be at the screens for a couple of hours a day and then go and do other things that are important to me in my life? So that really ties into the plan as well. And then maybe later we'll talk about investing as well, that,
Yeah.
of not, well, maybe we just talk about it now. Of the thing is, it's back to the business that, right? I had a business, it was good, but
Mhm.
what did I have? I had a job. So even as a trader, you have a job, right? So to make money, you need to be
Sure.
there, and that's cool. But if you want to do the other things and have that freedom to travel and maybe spend more time with your family, then maybe it is that you're trading less and also investing, which was really my kind of journey of just going, actually, I don't need as much money as I thought in my trading account. Like typically today, 5% of my overall portfolio. So just for the guys, I trade and I invest short, medium, and long term. But
Yeah.
my trading account, you just need the margin to cover your trades. So what do you do with the rest of your money? For me, I invest it, and then those investments start looking after you, you know? And then, okay, well, actually, maybe I don't need to trade all the time. Or
It's a
maybe,
fair point.
and
Yeah.
it balances. It basically balances. I mean, this year, to be honest, on the investment side, if we just take the investments from like we're only in February, right? Well, I'm not really making much on investments. The market's been fairly sideways and so on. But my trading's been great, you know, so I've
Yeah.
made a lot of money trading. So it kind of balances out. And I like to look at the trading side as your okay, that's my little job, but that's also my cash flow. That's the money that's coming in, because the investing side, well, maybe we have a bad year, or maybe we have a couple of really great years and then a year where things are a little less quiet. So you've got your timing right, and getting your capital to work for you, especially in this environment, as we discussed in Jakarta, with so much inflation and money depreciation, or the value of money depreciation. The ultimately your dollar, your euro is buying you less. And I like to eat steak. We like to eat steak, and we want to
Oh,
keep
for sure.
we don't
That's
want to
why I'm
be
here in South America, mate.
we
For
don't
that
want to be
reason. Yeah.
downgraded to a hamburger or a soy burger because our dollar is not there. So, that helps us keep up with that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a very important point amongst all the other ones. Let's start from that one I have first in mind right now to talk about. And that is like, I want to have like 3 to 5% as a revenue coming from my trading. And this is, you feel like if you talk to the people nowadays, they want to go to trading, you feel like I'm going to double my account within a week. And it sounds so easy. Yeah, let's make 3 to 5%. Because if you look at how trading has been taught all over the years, yeah, you need to have a risk reward ratio of 2 to 1. If you're like, yeah, I gotta do 2 trades a month and I'm done with 4%.
Yeah.
So where is the secret hidden here? Because obviously it's not that easy, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, I think, yeah, but you're right. You don't have to be doing a lot of trades. And I think that's also where people make a lot of mistakes. I think you need one, maybe two trades a week. Of course, the other thing is we're going to get some losses as well. So we do need to balance that out. And the run of wins and
Here we go.
losses, we just don't know. You just don't know that run. You
Right.
could run into four losses, you know, and so that's 2 weeks gone.
Yeah.
So it all kind of balances out. But of course, I do like to look. Of course, I'm going to look at my month, and that's my goal. But maybe let's clarify a little bit that that's what I'm looking for averagely, and I like to look over a longer period, maybe over 6 months or a year. You'll have some knockout months where you're making 10, maybe 20%, but you'll also maybe
Yeah.
have that. Probably in a year, I might have 1 or 2 down months where
Yeah.
I didn't make anything and possibly lost something.
It's also, yeah, that's why I'm just bringing this up on the table again, because it's very important to understand that, you have these ups and downs. You have your profits, you
Yeah.
have your losses, and it's all about the averaging out. And also this means, and that's the question which just follows after, it's so you don't limit your profits by stopping trading immediately after you got a 4 or 5%. You just continue, but always having in mind, on average, I want to have like my, let's say 4%, so we have averages out, let's say 5%, whatever, so that people understand, you just go, but you have a very modest target you want to achieve and you can live with.
Yeah, yeah. So kind of just back to that point again. I love bringing trading back to business, right? Because it's
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
it's simple to talk in those terms. Like if you were a fancy dress costume company, right? Most of most of your income is going to come in quarter four because of Halloween and Christmas, right? So you're going
Yeah.
to pretty much not make much for most of the year, and then you're going to have a bumper, quarter,
Mhm.
and that's just the seasonality of the market. That actually at the moment we're in a really good time. Normally this is key money making time from October all for me all the way up into the spring. This is really, really great time. Summer, not so much. And then we
Yeah.
decline coming in September, and then we start, buying again. So it is, yeah, it is definitely really getting those seasons, knowing when you're going to be making some money or making some less money, which is just normal in
Mhm.
most business. Most retail make all of its money in quarter four.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Because in summertime, guess where people are? On vacations. And this is
Right.
true also for market participants, for traders, for the market maker, the brokers, everybody. I mean, human beings like to have vacations once in a while. And what I also like to figure out, because you feel like, okay, I want to have my 5%. So say you have 100,000, let's say dollar. So
Yeah.
5% a month gives you $5,000 back each month. Fair enough, which is good income by trading, but still, and now we're talking about the margin as a trader. You don't need that 100,000. So, and this is where the magic comes in. So you need just a part
Yeah.
to cover the margin, and some, to balance some swings. But
Yeah.
you definitely don't need 100,000 on your trading account.
No.
All
But I
right.
think this
Yeah.
is this is this is the real key point. And again, bring it back to business of going, okay, if I wanted to have a business that would give me
Mhm.
$5,000 a month,
Yeah.
do you think you could buy one for 100,000? I personally, I don't think so. I mean, for the guys,
Yeah.
go out and check what a franchise will cost, or buying a restaurant or buying a business. Like this is why trading is absolutely incredible. But again, we've got to bring it back to some reasonable figures of going, hey,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
100,000 can potentially make you like 5,000 a month. For most people, that would be a
60% per year.
yeah. Or we
You know?
look at again of like 3 to 5%. Well, let's even round it up to six and you compounded it. That's
Mhm.
100% a year. So you're looking sort of 50 to 100% a year. So if you've got a bag of 100 grand, then that's, it's a great start. But again, I
Right.
think people need to be realistic that sure, not everybody, like a lot of people don't have 100 grand. So they're not in the position to be in business. So
Mhm.
therefore, got to do your job. Got to work your job and be a part-time trader and work that transition to being a full-time trader, which a lot of people get stuck in, of trying to jump too quickly from those, of just getting that main source of income, covering the bases, using your trading as, it could even just be for people just some little bit of extra money, or if you want to take it seriously, build the bridge, get realistic, start looking out there. How much do businesses cost? And how
Yeah.
much money would you need? So you can just grow that in time to support yourself. But yeah, back to the magic that you were talking about of the, say if you did have the 100,000 or you have 10,000, but if you were risking maybe $100 a trade, you're not going to need 100,000 in your account. You're going to, arguably need maybe, I don't know, $5,000 just to cover the
Let's
margin.
make it 10. Let's make
Yeah,
it 10 to give it a bit of room to move. But anyway, yeah, that's what it
make
is.
it 10. Make it 10, but also for the smaller account. So that's the thing. Like now, okay, I trade and invest on a larger size of money and can achieve
Sure.
quite high amounts of returns, not so much in percentage, but it's high value returns. But it's exactly the same for me as it is for somebody with a 10 grand account. We're just doing the same things and the same principles. If you've got a 10 grand account, well, you might be able to just put $1,000 into your trading account, maybe risk $50 a trade to do that, and then use the other money to buy some stocks, that value stocks like I like Tesla or Nvidia, and start growing your wealth with that as well. That was my mistake, because in my journey, I was so focused on just trading that I just need a bigger trading account, which a lot of people get into, with a funded trader and all that stuff. So, okay, I just need a larger trading account. And if I can trade that much money, then I'll be making this much and that'll be fantastic. Whereas I kind of went, actually, I don't need that huge trading account. Or even if I do have that huge trading account, I'm actually not really getting my money to work for me as much as possible. Whereas I could put a lesser amount into the account, which also is money management as well. Because, as I showed in Jakarta, look, like the broker has on the top of their website, 70% of clients are losing money.
At least, yeah.
At least. Probably higher, but 70% of people are losing money. So if you, like for me, I've got 5, like some say I just go crazy, which is probably not going to happen, but say if I did, I would, I blew up my trading account. I'm going to lose 5% of my overall portfolio, which is actually manageable. Whereas with all of your money in the trading, within the broker, all of that money's at risk. You start to do things like, hey, let me just not have a stop on this because I've got plenty of money in there. You start to get a little bit loose on your trading. No, that's my margin. It's for that. I've got my stop loss in. I've got my target in. It keeps you a little bit more focused. And now you're protecting your money as well. So if you did need to reload that account, you could. But so many people get just taken out of the game because of poor money management. And that's it. The show's over. That dream, sad, has gone. Of wanting to be the trader in whatever capacity of wanting to travel or just wanting to spend more time with your family, or maybe they want more time on the golf course. That's gone. We only have so many bullets. So I think that this, looking back on my journey, while extremely simple, something so simple, but extremely effective, and also really, one, will grow your wealth in another way because you get an opportunity to invest, and also you're going to protect money as well with good money management, and not having the risk of having it in the broker. Not because there's any problem with the broker, but there's maybe a problem with you, and you make some mistakes and you lose all your money.
Also, there's something to understand. Yeah, you might have shady brokers, and for sure they are somehow. But most mistakes are done by yourself. And most losses come from bad trading decisions, trading behavior, bad risk and position management, something like this. And then, of course, if your broker is really like working against you, this adds up too, for sure. But basically, most people lose money because of themselves.
No, 100%. I really don't think the broker, there's probably some shady brokers, but if you go to reputable brokers, well-established names, I don't think that you're getting, I don't think they're the problem, as you say.
Yeah. Let's return back to this idea, like this 5%, because I'm really keen on figuring this out a bit. Because now you mentioned, okay, let's say you risk $100 per trade, which is 10% of what you should or could risk with a $100,000 account, right? So this means you have a smaller trading account, you invest the highest part or the biggest part of your money into more, let's say, mid and long-term investments. You have a trading account, let's say $5,000 to $10,000. Then you come back to 1% rule, which is 100. 1 to 2%, which is $100. And this also means if you want to have like 5% of your total account, you have to work like crazy on your trading account. Am I right? I mean, that's, that's what people need to think about as well. So we're not going to 1 or 2 trades a month. We're talking about at least 1 or 2 trades a day, or 3 or 4, something like this. Agree or not agree?
No, not necessarily.
Mhm.
I hear what you're saying, but yeah, at the end of the day, you're getting your money to work elsewhere, and then on your trading account, well, I personally more think rather than looking at a percentage of your account, look at an absolute amount
Mhm.
like that. What am I
Yeah.
willing to lose, or what can I bear to lose? And that could be
Mhm.
$50, be
Mhm.
$100, be
Yeah.
$1,000 or $500 that
Agreed.
that I can operate okay with that. Because
Yeah.
you'll definitely be like, say, you'll find out quickly. If you think that you can risk $200 a trade and you start moving the stops and you start,
Mhm.
you don't want to lose, then it's too big. You maybe have to go to $100. But rather than
Yeah.
look at the percentage of the account, we can actually then work out, so if I risked $200 on a trade and I made $400 each trade, now we can start to work back of, well, what actual number do you need rather than talking in percent? For me, great, 3 to
Mhm.
5%. But I know what that 3 to 5% is of what, right? For
Yeah.
somebody else, I
Yeah.
think it's much more important to go, hey, I need $1,000 a month.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
just work back from that, and then that's going to tie into your trades. So I need
Mhm.
$1,000 a month. Okay, well, if you risked $200 on a trade and made 400, I had a sort of a 70% success rate. Maybe can't do the maths in my head without, having my slide up, but yeah, you're going to need 1 to 2 trades perhaps a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
And it's a
I
little
agree.
bit less. So I think the more important thing is focusing on what do you as an individual need or want from trading and then working it back. So then
Mhm.
that money that's in your trading account relates to your requirements. And then you've got
Yeah.
to really, you want to push the envelope a little bit. Okay, I start with 1,000. Okay, I want to push it to 1,500 or whatever. And you can start pushing your tolerance as well. Because even myself, and this was what we were sort of discussing in Jakarta, we've all got a tolerance for how much money we're kind of able to comfortably trade
Oh, yeah.
and perform correctly, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm. Absolutely.
maybe a weird
We can
analogy.
grow into it a bit, but we have our limits. Of course we have. Yeah,
We
for
have our
sure.
limits. We have our limits. I mean, like sometimes now and again, I race some cars, and uh, racing cars is exactly the same as trading. You've got to, you've got to get that car around the track as quickly as you possibly can. So it means
Yeah.
that you just have to do things consistently every time. There's the braking point. You got to brake, then you got to turn, then you
Yeah.
got to get back on the gas. You got to do these things just consistently. But even with the cars, there's certain cars I'm like, oh, this car is a little bit much for me.
It's a
This is a
beast.
little
Yeah.
bit beyond my own capability, and it's a beast.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not as comfortable in this as I am in something else. So yeah, we have our limits, and it's just knowing that limit, and that all comes back to the journaling, which is what
Yeah.
most people, it's like. Again, if you have a business, you'd have a review, right? What happened? It was a sales meeting. Okay, well, how did sales perform last month? And
Mm.
what happened to get that good or bad result? You'd have that meeting and then you'd make a sales plan for the next month and see if you could execute it. So it's just the same.
Yeah. I mean, the thinking business-wise is always a good idea if you're a trader, because as business owner, you have your expenses, your revenues, you have you have like bad decisions, buying the wrong stuff. You were selling like soft drinks, importing, exporting, not importing, soft drinks. Well, there might be a container which gets bad luck, right? Or something
Yeah,
like this. I mean, there's always something where you feel like, okay, this one is a 100% loss. Deal with it. Make a profit with the other one, right?
yeah.
And
No,
that's
no,
that's what people need to know about trading. It's not
for
always
sure.
about, yeah, I'm the huge winner. It's about consistency. But okay, let's get the second one, third one, fourth one. Let's talk with my supplier. Things like this. Make a
Yeah,
deal.
yes. Make a deal. But yeah, I think the most important thing is just working your plan. Really, really working your plan.
Yeah. Um, in Jakarta, and I'm just watching, looking at the clock right now. In Jakarta, you mentioned another one, which is also very interesting for most people right now because this pops up more and more and more, which is crypto. And you mentioned it like, yeah, I don't need a lever anyway. I go with crypto. How's that?
Yeah, crypto is fantastic, and I think I said in Jakarta also, I'm just out of feeling it's like a dirty word. It was like, yeah, I trade a little bit of crypto, and
You get younger by saying this anyway, right? It's like,
true,
like your
crypto
face
is
gets a
just
bit
such,
more smooth.
maybe, but crypto is just such a vast world that you've got to kind of hone it in. So let's hone it in of for myself, I really pretty much predominantly trade and invest in Bitcoin and Solana, which I believe
Mm,
in quite a lot. There's a lot of the meme coins and all of that stuff. I don't really touch it. But yeah, I think the more and more I get into crypto, the more and more I like it. And particularly, of course, what's going on in the world now, with Trump getting in, and there's major, massive, ridiculous institutional adoption now of the larger cryptos, Bitcoin and Solana.
yeah.
Um, but I think the key thing for us is as a trader is the volatility that's there. Because there's just traders, we need volatility. So the volatility of Bitcoin, Solana, maybe also SUI, I look at as well, is meaning that we don't really need any leverage in the market.
Mm,
We can just get in, let it go, or maybe make 10, 20%. I'll get a 20% move. I mean, I think Solana, wait a minute, just have a look at the charts here. I think, Solana probably moved 10%. Let's just have a quick look. It moved in the last, let's just have a look. Since Friday, it's probably moved about, yeah, it's moved 21%. And stock markets don't move like that. Maybe some stocks move like that. But,
mm,
a 20% return on something for me is really, really fantastic. But it also leads into a little bit more that there's a lot more information that we can get with crypto of what's happening on chain, what's happening
yeah.
with orders, what's happening with potentially what I like to use as liquidation levels,
Mm,
where the leveraged longs are getting liquidated, where people are getting taken out of the market. That's where I want to get in. And for us, as essentially we still are retail traders, is that we can see that information and
mm.
get into the market. So yeah, I'm a lot more excited these days about that. And it's for many, it's easier trading. You're not leveraged. You're
Yeah.
not, you don't necessarily have to have that stop loss in place because you're sort of semi-investing in this for sure. You can use a stop
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
easier to feel like I'm just holding, you know.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
just
just
holding
holding and adding a bit afterwards.
exactly, and I'm playing the volatility because this thing
Mm,
moves, like the stock market every year might get a 10% correction. Last year we didn't. I was waiting for, something like a 10% correction, and then we start getting in. It didn't
yeah,
happen. These move, 20% since Friday.
yeah.
So it's an incredible opportunity to not only invest, but also sort of trade off the back of it, scaling in, scaling out, scaling in, scaling out, and sort of building your position, or using.
Yeah, so you mean you have a core position and just adding and lowering, things like this?
Yeah, so basically, I'm invested in Bitcoin and Solana, but I'll take 25% of that and I'll just scale out, scale back in, scale
Yeah.
out. For me, that grows the size of my portfolio. But for many, or if I was having a bad time on trading, it just wasn't the right suit, that could potentially just be an income for me as well. So
Yeah.
Bitcoin goes, it was at 109,000 and the other day it went to 89 or 90, so back in at around 90, it goes up to 100. Well, that's, one coin, that's $20,000, and
True.
that could happen in the space of a week or so.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Sounds amazing, and that's why I really felt like it's so cool to talk about your journey, and your journey hasn't even started as we continue now. Now what I feel like, well, let's do something together and have some world tour. That's also something which is exciting. And what you didn't mention anyway is that you also have community teaching, you have your live trading, or you had, maybe you want to lower it, maybe not. So let's see what happens. So how did this add up to your journey and to your portfolio?
Sure. So, I mean, with Magnetic Trading, which is my company, been doing that for 12 years, basically just showing everybody exactly what I'm doing day to day. I write a report ahead of the
Yeah.
open, I go live at the open. This is what I'm doing, guys. Also on my investing side, this is exactly what I'm doing. And it's got to a stage now where it's interesting for me that really I do this more so, one, to help my clients, but also it really helps me as a trader investor, because I go, right, okay, I've got to get all this information and I've got to write a report and I've got to get this to the guys, some of which have been with me for over a decade. So it keeps
Yeah.
me responsible as well as kind of helping the guys. And we discussed this before, of it's a kind of a, while it's fantastic, this trading investing business, it's kind of a lonely or isolated business that,
It is.
here I am
Yeah.
sitting in front of my screens. Um,
Yeah.
Great, I can be anywhere in the world, but we don't necessarily have colleagues or whatever. So so it works both ways with my clients, of that they have a community of people that have similar goals to them with their trading and investing. And I also have I have a community as well of people that I can talk to every day, which I think is important for traders to have a community, or be part of a community that they can get some
Agree.
contact with, and also some feedback. We all learn together.
Right. Yeah, that's the point. Even you learn from your students or from your community as well, because you get that feedback, you get questions you never questioned yourself. Oh, why did you do this? Huh? I never thought about it.
Yeah, no, yeah,
And,
it's the way
and
I
also,
do it. Yeah,
if you have all eyes on yourself, you feel like, oh, everybody's watching me. And that's what you say. You have responsibility. You cannot do any bullshit trades anymore. You have to be
exactly.
disciplined. You have to take care. You have to take care of position size. You have to take care of proper analysis, not just jumping in because you're bored, because it all comes back to you and people feel like, are you kidding me? I just lost, more than you ever thought of. And that's very, very important also to understand. And yes, it's part of the income streams as well. So not to forget about this.
Sure, sure, absolutely. No. It's really fantastic to be able to share. But I think, yeah, keeping yourself, disciplined and having some responsibilities is also key in this game. So I guess for those out there is maybe, making sure that you buddy up with somebody that actually does know what you traded. A friend of
Yeah.
mine, uh, he always kind of calls it like like a sort of a mistress account. You know, nobody knows what you traded. So, you know, what does it matter? But if you've got somebody or a group of people that know what you're doing every day, you'll just be that bit sharper. You know, because I'll think 3 times about a trade for myself. I'll think 10 times about a trade for you know my clients or friends or family that actually also, you know, trade and invest with me as well.
Yeah, yeah. So life as a trader, trader as a living, a life, you know. So what comes first? I don't know. For me, and I'm pretty sure for you as well, trading is your life, you know. So doesn't matter
Yeah.
from which perspective you look at it. If you do it yourself, if you teach it, if you think about it, if you you know, just plan, go through it. It's all about trading. For me, it's the same as for you because, you know, we talk so much and so often about trading and life. Wow, that's what it is. Pleasure
Yeah,
talking to you again, Cameron.
really fantastic. Well, really, really good. We're looking forward to well being back again and seeing you maybe Germany. I think Germany's maybe going to be the next
Yeah,
one. Back in
yeah,
April.
in September. In September, we're gonna have the IFTA conference in
Yeah.
Frankfurt, Germany. So that's most likely. I hope so. Of course, hope so. You jump in and we have a good time over there.
Yeah, no, it'd be great.
And
It'd be great.
continue with this discussion and conversations as well. It's going to be great. We have a lot of people there, and DD&K will join. We will have, you know, some champions, trading champions coming to the conference,
Yeah,
presenting their ideas. It's going to be great. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
fantastic. Looking forward
awesome.
to it.
Yeah, my friend. Greetings to Ho Chi Minh and
Thanks.
enjoy. Talk soon. Thanks for
Cheers.
all your insights and all the best, Cameron. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Thanks.